On the internet.
Yeah, we're on the internet. Welcome to the Nerd Ledger. We are here.
Yep,
We're back again on a
we're here.
Wednesday instead of
We're
a
in your
Tuesday.
ear. We're in your ear on Wednesday. Married on Wednesday. As
Yeah.
we say here, because we're nerds that like DC Comics. Uh, Speaking of DC Comics, Black Adam.
yeah.
Um, DCEU. So, well, there's been a lot of big news in the DCEU, as there always is. Thankfully, some of this news is actually quite positive, but I guess we'll probably start with Black Adam first, huh?
We can, yeah. But I have some quick things I want to say. You know what I mean?
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
oh, all right.
So I watched House of the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike you, I watched it in its entirety.
Not just the sex scenes,
No,
of which
and
all
most
of
of
which all of them are disappointing. By the way, there's almost no
they
there's no
were
nudity there's no nudity in the show. Basically, like
pretty much, unless they're in a
yeah,
brothel, there's no nudity.
yeah. None of the main characters ever show any pretty parts or anything. It's just erotic posing, which
There,
is all right because they're like attractive at least. Like they're nice to look at. Like their bodies, like they're they got some good lat spreads on the back. But
sure.
aside from that, like not
There,
much.
there's just far too many birthing scenes.
Mm,
I don't need to constantly see women giving birth when half the time the baby doesn't even live, and one of the times the mom dies because they cut her open.
mm,
Like I don't need to see this shit. But I get why it's there. But no, the thing I'll say about the show is it is a good show in general terms. Like it looks great. Like like honestly, like I know they spent way less than Rings of Power, but the visuals are almost on par.
mm.
The biggest issue with the visuals is just some scenes are just way too dark. It's like the second to last episode of Game of Thrones, where like
Mm.
the battle at Winterfell or whatever, and like everything is just fucking like you can't see shit. You know,
Yeah.
there's a couple scenes like that. The other issue, the the single most bad thing I guess I could say about the show is there's just no one to root for. Like, in Game of Thrones, you had like Jon Snow and Arya and like other characters you cared about, like Tyrion, and like a bunch of characters that like you could root for, and for large parts of the show, Daenerys, right?
Mm.
And I'm not saying you can't get there with this show because Game of Thrones did the same thing where you'd have like characters like Jaime Lannister who you're like, wow, this guy's a major douchebag, piece of shit. Everybody hates him. And then eventually you're like, you kind of root for him a little bit,
Yeah, when they dropped the ball in the last couple seasons, and
Yeah.
reverse all that character development and turn him into a huge piece of shit because he's just, this is who I've always been. And then he fucks off on a horse after fucking Brienne, which is something they've been setting up for like 6 seasons. Oh,
Yeah.
supposed to be him breaking away from his sister finally, but nope.
But
God forbid.
this show has so many time jumps that like you get to see so much of these characters' lives,
Mm,
and like they're just all awful. Like there's one character who is like a good person pretty much, and like they're kind of just like on the side. Like they're not even a main part of the show that much.
yeah.
And like that person's kids, like for the most part, like are all like they seem like genuine people, but like everyone else, they're just awful. Their kids are awful. Everyone is just awful. Everyone's a terrible person, and the only person who like I actually like is Matt Smith's character,
Yeah.
despite the fact that he's also just awful. Like,
Yeah.
but it's Matt Smith, and he's really good, and his character, like, you can tell,
Yeah.
like, there's something under there that, like similar to Jamie, like, he wants to do,
Be
like,
good.
genuinely the
Yeah.
right things for the people he loves, but, like, that also means doing bad things for the people you love, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I think the problem, well, first let me put this out there. The reason for anyone who hasn't tuned in or is just tuning in or whatever ish is going on in your life right now, I don't watch House of the Dragons, or I refuse to right now, even though I'm not paying for HBO Max. My parents pay for HBO Max, and then I just mooch off them like a fucking just horrible delinquent. But I was really upset because I think Game of Thrones, the first 5 seasons, is probably some of the best TV I've ever watched in my entire life. Like it's something, it's just it blows my socks off every time. Those first 3 seasons really are super intense. They just grab you and they pull you in. They don't let you go. And then they just completely drop the ball because the showrunners were wanting to go work on Star Wars. They didn't want to finish Game of Thrones. And it needed a couple more seasons. I think probably it needed to go up to 11 or 12 seasons to be 100% finished. And I think they could have taken it there if they really wanted to, and they didn't. And instead, they just kind of wrapped it all up in one stupid, shitty, awful, bad, not very good season. And it's just, it made me so mad, and I'm really wounded. So I'm not gonna be. The only reason I joke about watching like House of Blood for the sex scenes, House of Blood, like Fire and Blood, whatever the fuck, I don't know, for the sex scenes. But like, to be honest, like I only watched like 2 sex scenes, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Because like they're just like they're cool and stuff. You know, you see a great shot of Matt Smith's ass, but aside from that, you don't really. Yeah, you don't really. There's not really much going on. I thought it'd be kind of a joke, but no, there's just nothing going on here. And I'm sure the story's great. I know Matt Smith. He's the reason that he's the reason I got in Doctor Who. He's probably the reason a lot of people got in Doctor Who. He was also really good in Morbius. He's the only good thing about that movie. Because he was in more, because he just goes 110. I don't know, dude just wants to go 110% into whatever role he's given. And I'm sure that he's some badass dragon riding, sword wielding, fucking white haired, sexy looking motherfucker running around killing shit. You know, that's what he's gonna be in this show, and he's gonna make you all think that, wow, this dude's a fucking badass dragon riding, sword wielding, maiden fucking motherfucker. So it's just is what it is. I'm not gonna watch it for a while. Maybe if I get bored. I'm feeling so bad that I haven't caught up on Andor yet, because I'm still watching anime nonstop.
That's fine.
Yeah,
These things will keep coming. I mean, there will be a lull at some point where we'll have time to talk
yeah,
about everything. Andor still has like five episodes left. I mean,
yeah.
there
It's
there
like what
are
happened
four
with
episodes left. Yeah.
after season 2 of Mandalorian. Remember, there was nothing. There wasn't shit. Like, we had to sit up here for 40 minutes and just make it work.
Yeah, we had to
And
find
now,
news, and
yeah,
now there's just news
there's
everywhere too. Like,
now, yeah, now you don't even know what to cover because there's so much shit out there right now. Like, that's what happened with Kathleen Kennedy. Did you see that Disney told her to stop announcing Star Wars projects? Like, not like
yeah,
just stop
yeah, I
because
saw
there's
that
too many.
report.
Yeah, that like they're coming out with fatigue. Like, I think that's a real thing. I think that thing's real as fuck. Like the fatigue of certain things.
And
So
Tales of the Jedi, the animated
yeah,
Star Wars thing, the
I
entire thing
saw that.
released like all 6 episodes.
6
I'm pretty
episodes.
sure they're
Yep.
all shorts. They're pretty short,
Yeah.
probably.
Yep.
Um,
I still haven't watched Werewolf by Night. Shit.
yeah. So
Is that ever going? It's not going. That's not going away,
no,
right?
no, it won't go
Okay.
away. I mean, the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special trailer dropped.
Looked really funny. It looked really good. Like, I see the whole cast of the Guardians of the Galaxy. They just have great chemistry, so they work really well together, and they make some really good stuff.
Yep, and
So,
that's being done by James Gunn, who's had this crazy redemption arc.
yep.
And yeah, there's big news surrounding him in DC, which people are surprised by, but I think it makes sense, kind of.
Sense they're gonna. It just depends though. Like, and, I that news doesn't really fill me with hope because we still got WB and all the stupid suits they have, like, to deal with.
Yeah.
That's a real issue that studio needs to
And
deal
the
with.
important thing too is like, despite the fact that James Gunn is a director and will probably be directing movies, I mean, I'm just gonna say what happened because people might be confused, but James Gunn is gonna be essentially the Kevin Feige or co-Kevin Feige
Yeah.
of the DC universe. They've changed it. It's not the DC extended universe anymore. It's just the DC universe now. He will be running the film and television division, similar to what Kevin Feige does at Marvel, with someone else. I forgot the guy's name, but they've worked together before. So they'll be co-producing or co-running the direction of the DC universe moving forward. We know Superman is back. Henry Cavill announced it online that he will be, he's back as Superman for good. It sounds
Hmm.
like. There's a bunch of DC stuff. The future of DC is kind of still a mystery because we don't know exactly what they're gonna do. But James Gunn
And
is gonna help lead the direction, and he will be still directing some movies, but he won't be directing all of them. But he will be involved as probably an executive producer on everything.
yeah, I don't like this. Like, he's our Kevin Feige. Like, I think that's kind of like a bad way of putting it. I understand why people put it that way to like try and put it to people, but like, he's just, he's his own
That
person.
the problem is that's how Warner Brothers put it. Which
Put
is
it. Yeah,
which is in and of itself an issue.
issue. Yeah, then that's the thing. The problem I have is I just don't like. Remember, we have James Gunn, great. We have Henry Cavill's ready to play the role, great. Warner Brothers still fucking owns DC. Warner Brothers is still chock full of a bunch of suits that just have not a creative drop of blood in their entire fucking body.
Yeah.
And,
And
it's just
another interesting bit of this news is that movies such as The Joker do not fall under James Gunn. Like
yeah,
because Warner Brothers is still Warner Brothers.
stupid brothers and bad and stupid and not very good at making things.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
uh, I'm hopeful for the future of DC, and for me, like I don't care about all this kind of extraneous or extemporaneous things. All these things happening, all these places. All I care about is good movies. Like
yeah, exactly.
if the movies are good, I don't really care who's in charge. I don't care who's running it. But if the movies are not, which they haven't been, like then that's concerning.
Yep.
Black Adam was supposed to change the hierarchy of
Change the
the
hierarchy of the
DC
DCEU, and it just
universe.
felt like another DCEU movie.
The thing is, right?
So,
So, spoiler warning, guys. We're
yep,
talking about Black Adam now. There will be spoilers. If you haven't watched it and you don't want to be spoiled, then tune out until you've seen it, and then come back if you want to hear our thoughts.
yep,
But if you don't care about spoilers or you've seen the movie, hey, we're here for you.
yep.
You were saying?
I was just gonna say, starting off from the beginning, I think that the 30-minute and like show. How did you want to do this? Do you want to do like full movie play by play? Do you want to talk about our reactions to the movie? Like,
Uh, I'll
what do
give.
you think?
I'm gonna give some overall thoughts on the
Yeah,
movie, and then we can kind of get into specifics.
yeah.
Um,
So here's just a. I think that the how do I put this? I think that the structure that they're really finding a good structure for DC movies, whereas in like here's the bad guy, the villain or whatever, like in his or her, here's the bad guy, and his or her 30-minute introduction sequence, and then we assemble a team, and like Amanda Waller is the one that joins us all together, and we launch a mission, and then like crazy stuff happens. Because like I think there were some legitimately good things in this movie, but also like it was just a very stereotypical, very milquetoast DCE movie. Didn't really do anything too crazy. Didn't really change the balance of power in anything because I don't know. Like I don't know what it was supposed to change, other than showing us like, hey, Black Adam's really OP. That's it.
yeah.
Like he's super overpowered. That's it. Like is that the point of this movie? Maybe.
Well, I mean, I think with anything like this, the first question people have is, well, is it good, right?
Mm,
Is the movie good? And that's difficult to answer. I mean, you could look at critic scores and you can say, well, they don't think the movie's good. You can look at fan scores and you can say they think the movie's great. Like
yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes has like critics at like 40% and fans at like 90, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a big gulf there, and fans seem to love it, which is great. If someone asks me if I think the movie is good, I would say, well, it depends what you're looking for, first of all. Uh,
Mm.
if you're looking for a movie with a great story that makes you feel things and do things for you, this movie is god awful.
It's not the right movie for sure.
If you're
Yeah.
looking for a
An
movie,
action movie?
what was that?
An action movie?
Yeah, if you're looking
Uh,
for an action movie, if you're looking for a lot of great visual effects, if you're looking for great fight sequences, then you probably love this movie. And I hate to say this, but about probably 40% of the movie is in slow mo. But that's whatever. It comes down to, for me, the fact that like the movie doesn't make me feel anything. It doesn't really accomplish much, but it does establish Black Adam. It establishes the JSA. Pierce Brosnan is just on another level. He's amazing.
yep.
Dr. Fate is great. I really like Cyclone. I don't give a shit about Atom Smasher.
Yeah.
Hawkman was pretty cool. Like, there's a cool ensemble of characters. There's some pretty, good humor in the movie. I don't give a shit about this kid. His mom was cool, except it seemed like she reminds me of Bronwyn, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like she just like Bronwyn, like they espouse how much they care about their son, but then neglect them throughout the whole movie and send them to fight hordes of monsters and shit,
Yeah.
But yeah, the movie does what it wants to do. It's not special. It's not groundbreaking. It's not doing anything new. And for me, the story just is pretty bad. But The action is great. The CGI is great.
Yeah, it really is. Like it's something out of it's something out of like an anime.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can really describe it. Like, and it looks great when he's like throwing super fast punches and stuff like that, or like when Hawkman and Black Adam get into fights. That does happen quite a bit. There's like so much. The action is just nonstop. It really is. And
Part of this film
that's
feels like Groundhog Day. I swear, like it just the same couple things keep happening over and over,
yeah,
which is kind of annoying. But like the thing that I guess I'm not trying to be edgy when I say this, and and it'll sound edgy because I'll immediately say the opposite thing. But like, there's honestly nothing good about this movie. Like where it's bad, it's awful, and where it's normally quote unquote good, it's really good. It's great.
yeah,
So like the things it does well, it does really, really, really well. But the things it does poorly, it does really badly. So like that's why this movie's kind of probably difficult to assess. That's probably why there's such a gulf between fans and critics, because critics are looking for those things. They're looking for story. They're looking for the feel good moments. They're looking for the emotion. They're looking for what all these more critical aspects. Whereas fans, we just want to have fun. Some of us, a lot of fans are going to the movie because they want to enjoy something and have fun, and this movie can give you that.
yeah. It can. Like, if you're a kid and you go in this movie and you're like 12 years old and you just watch Black Adam fly around and do a bunch of cool stuff while some music plays and a bunch of because here's the thing. Like, I'll keep bringing it. Like, sometimes CGI, especially for the slow-mo scenes, look like shit, but the rest of the time it looks great. Like, especially like everyone bashing on Adam Smasher. I get it. He kind of didn't really do anything, but he still looked awesome when he turned to full size. Like, the CGI on that was phenomenal. It really
Yeah,
was.
yeah. The movie looks great,
Yeah.
and the characters look great. The costumes look great. Like,
Yep. Yep. Black Adam looked great, and this whole Kondak story is stupid. I don't know how it is in the comics. Like, it's just just some generic nation getting picked on by some generic paramilitary corporations. Oh, we need a hero, please! Someone come and rise up with us. Uh,
yeah, I mean,
so I guess maybe we should go. Like, let's do just
yeah, yeah, yeah,
a
yeah,
quick overview of the movie. So here's how it starts. Kondak is this country that's under control by this paramilitary group called Intergang, and they have Eternium weapons, right, or whatever that is, and like these crazy speed bikes. Which I thought the
yeah,
speed bikes were cool as hell. I guess some people thought people hated them. Um, Basically, they're like looting the country, and then there's this architect resistance fighter lady. Who wants to go take this super overpowered magic crown away before the Paragang gets it. They set up really weak exposition for this. Like, you complained about this when we walked out of the theater. The reason for they just say, "Oh, they're days away from finding the crown," and then they drive in the middle of the fucking desert where there's literally nobody out there.
yeah.
So
We're clearly they follow you and try to
yeah,
get the
and
like, and that's how
yeah,
Black Adam gets awake, and it's like,
yeah. So they get basically they go in to get the crown. Like, oh look, there's the crown. So there was this. Okay, so another thing is like, there Black Adam. He was this wizard. He was a slave. As
yeah,
far as
this
we
is
know.
like before we get into like the modern story. There's like a
Yeah.
30,000 years ago
Year
story
ago story, yeah.
where like
So
there's
there's
like
this evil king with a bunch
yeah.
of slaves having them mine Eternium, and then like Black Adam was like, "Well, I don't like this," and then he gets the wizards are like, "You're right." And so the
Also,
wizard,
when that little kid's dad came over and was like, "Yo, we're not gonna fight back," I knew that was The Rock. I knew it was. I think that was supposed to be the twist. It's like, oh yeah, my son was actually the chosen one and I wasn't. But like that was not surprising at all to me. Anyway, yeah,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
this whole intro thing.
yeah. No, yeah. When they didn't show his face, I was like, oh, I bet that's a rock. I had that down too. But so the intro happens. Like Black Adam gets he blows up this king with his demon crown. In the first cutscene, they show you the king gets the demon crown, and like they have some epic wizard battle, and it blows up both Kondak. But we learn more about that later. So what happens is she gets cornered by the paramilitary group. They have guns. She like speaks the match. She like starts talking to distract them, but she's actually speaking magic words to wake up Black Adam.
Yeah, she's
Black
reading.
Adam. Yep. Black Adam explodes out. They start shooting the shit out of him, and then he says like your magic is weak, and then he goes like on a explosive, really well made killing rampage. And then just it's nonstop action sequence. I think for like what 25 minutes where he beats up
Yeah.
all these guys like they're running away. They run out into an open field, and there's like a whole armor column ready to go and fight him. There's tanks and machine gun like Humvees. All there's guys with RPGs like so. And then they play the worst rendition of Paint It Black I've ever heard in my entire life. Like I could like it was just so short. It was like a 30-second burst and it was dumb and like I don't know. Here's the thing. Like if you're gonna use a song, I really feel like you need to use the whole song, in a movie. And I understand that's not hard, that's not easy to do, but that's kind of like when you're switching in these songs in and out like this, like it's just very disorienting for me. So maybe that's more of a personal thing.
Yeah.
So he gets some really bad looking slow-mo fight scene. It's probably the worst looking. What do you think? It's probably the worst fight scene probably in the movie, huh?
I think the fight scenes worked. What they kind of tried to do the
No,
Quicksilver.
I'm just asking specifically about the slow-mo one. Do you think it's like
The,
specifically
the,
the worst?
the problem with it is they try to do the Quicksilver thing, right? Where like
Yeah,
Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, where he's moving really fast and everybody else is like frozen in time. They try to do that, except the fact that The Rock is also moving the same speed that everyone else is seemingly moving. So like the slow mo just doesn't even make sense to me in those moments because like he's not really moving that fast. Like the objects are moving the same speed as him, and the people are also moving. Like it's just slowed down. Like
yeah,
it just doesn't work that well for me. But like maybe
yeah.
for other people it looks
And
great.
I didn't like it too much either, to be 100% honest with you. So, with that, however, with all that being said, that goes on. That scene happens. Our soldier shoots an Eternium rocket at Black Adam. He catches it out of the air. He was like, "What is this?" And it's Eternium, and I guess that damages him, and then that never comes up again. The Eternium thing never comes up again.
He like
Um,
lightnings himself to heal it or something. I don't know.
yeah, he gets blown up. Passes out. He wakes. Then there's like a little bit more exposition. This is when they get the Justice League, right? The Justice Society.
Yeah,
Like they,
they see
yeah.
like a
So
news report about it. They're like, "Oh, we must
yeah,
go stop this
and
guy.
there's
He's an international threat."
so actually what happens is that like there's a bunch of like security cam footage, and then you get like to this really cool mansion where Hawkman lives, and he gets contacted by Amanda Waller about this, and then like okay, who's the team? And then I I kind of like that, like like they're throwing together like some heroes from the DC universe, like because there's a lot of them. That's like Justice League Unlimited when I was watching it as a kid. It's like the cool was like they would throw in like some heroes, and then every episode they would throw in two heroes you've just never fucking heard of. And I always thought that was like a really cool way of like branching you someone out in the universe. So that happens. They get Pierce Brosnan, who is Dr. Fate, in the fucking outfit. We don't see it yet, but he's just,
The
the
outfit
helmet
is
looks
sick,
great.
yeah.
The helmet looks amazing. It really does. Like,
And fun bit of trivia: Pierce Brosnan said he took the role, or I don't know if he said he took the role, but he said he was really inspired by Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, and he said he's brilliant. So I mean,
yeah,
that's high praise. So,
it is. Like Benedict Cumberbatch is an amazing actor in his own right. Like Sherlock, those first two seasons of Sherlock were all him. Like, and Martin Freeman sometimes, mostly him.
yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that disagree with that, but it is what it is. So Black Adam wakes up in this kid's bedroom. He starts zapping like the superhero posters because this fucking movie needs to shit on all the heroes that people actually like for some reason. So that happens for a bit, and then the kid's like, "Oh, you've been asleep for like a gajillion years," and Black Adam's like, "Oh, it's been a gajillion years." And then when you realize that The Rock starts talking, I was watching. I went over to my friend's house last night, and I got really, really, really high with him. And then when we get really high, we watch the original Conan movie, which is actually it's a really good movie, actually, like surprisingly.
The one with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger, yep, way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about Black Adam. Here's also the thing about Conan. Arnold Schwarzenegger can't really act, but it doesn't matter because in Conan, he just needed to be a giant muscle man waving a sword around and looking hot as fuck, right? And here's the thing about Black Adam. Dwayne The Rock Johnson can't really act, but that doesn't really matter in this movie because he's a stupid mook that goes around fucking just blowing people up.
Yeah, it's kind of odd because it's like
Yeah. So he opens his mouth and starts talking, and you're just realizing, like, oh, he's just being Dwayne The Rock Johnson again, but in the Black Adam outfit. Like, there is no distinct difference. There's never been any distinct difference between any of his characters.
To be honest, I think his portrayal becomes worse the more you think about it, because like as the movie goes on, right, like it becomes clear that like he cares some semi about the kid because of his own kid, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so there's that, but like it doesn't make sense then when his entire performance is like, I'm here, I don't give a shit about anyone, I don't give no fucks, bruh. But then he's like partially taking like advice from the kid about how to be a hero but then he's like, I'm not a hero, and then like using his catchphrases like he's like the Rock, or like the Black Adam is like, it seems like he's into that, but at the same time it seems like he doesn't give a shit and doesn't want to be bothered and doesn't care about any of these people, and then has to be convinced to care, even though it's like very clear that then like none of that actually makes sense, and part of it is the Rock's performance, let's be honest.
Yeah, and it's because he's just the Rock. I don't know what to tell you. He's a muscle man. He looks great in the outfit. He's there to blow stuff up and kick ass. So then they run around on the streets of Kahndaq for a bit. You know, he gets introduced. He's floating around and stuff like that. He gets into fight with the Interganger, right? Again. And,
always, yeah, continuous fights, and then the JSA and them at the
GSA
same
shows
time.
up. Yeah, so we get introduced to GSA as they're flying in. We get introduced to Cyclone, and then we get introduced to Atom Smasher. Atom Smasher gets a FaceTime from somebody. I don't know if that gentleman was important, if he played Atom Smasher a long time ago, or if he was the voice of Atom Smasher. I don't know who
that's like Henry Winkler.
I don't know who Henry Winkler is. So
he is famous for some shit. I don't know. I don't think he was ever Atom Smasher, but I mean, in here he is. He's like yeah, he was like the original Atom Smasher. Henry Winkler was the Fonz, so that's why he's famous. I'm pretty sure. The Fonz.
Yeah,
Happy
I don't
Days.
know. I know who the Fonz is. I just don't know why he had to call him. But you know, whatever. As doesn't matter. So we get introduced to these characters. Like they're like, okay, guys, let's suit up. So what happens is first, Dr. Fate puts on the outfit, and he looks fucking phenomenal. It really does look so good. Like it's all shiny and gold and awesome looking and stuff like that. Yeah. Then Pierce Brosnan and Warhawk go save some dudes. They get into a big fight with Black Adam.
You
Adam
said
Smash.
Warhawk.
Not Warhawk. I'm sorry. Like it's
Hawkman.
Hawkman. I'm sorry. Fucking dude with wings that fights people. All right, I don't know what else to tell you.
The history of Hawkman and Hawkgirl, I'm telling you, dude. Even people who read comics, even the people who wrote this shit, don't understand their history. It's so fucking complicated.
Yeah, like I just at some point assume he's just some dude with wings that beats people up. Like I remember Hawkgirl from Justice League Unlimited, and she was badass. And there was this really emotional episode where she had to kill Solomon Grundy, and it was like, wow, damn, dude, this is hardcore. Yeah. But either way, like I said, like did I want Hawkgirl? Sure, doesn't matter. So they start fighting and all this kind of stuff, and they get into it and blah blah blah, blah, and like there's some really good CGI. Doctor Fate uses like illusion magic, and it looks really fucking cool when he's floating around, like waving his arms and like painting a picture almost, and he makes little clothes of himself that beat up on Black Adam. Like, it's awesome.
You can also see the future.
Yeah, and so they get into a fight for a bit. After that, they kind of split up. Black Adam goes like back into his like hidey hole with the kid, and the kid's like, "That's the Justice League. You gotta learn how to be a hero, dude." And Black Adam's like, "Oh, I'm Dwayne the Rock Johnson."
Yeah, I'm not a hero. I kill people, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and he does. He kills a lot of people, but they're all bad people. So
Yeah, so we don't feel bad about them.
I mean, we assume they're all bad people
because they're not humans with lives or anything like that.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
Also, again, another weird like contradiction is like the electrician guy. He's pretty funny. He's like watching. I'm pretty sure it's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And then like The Rock comes out and sees the guy like pull his gun on the TV and blows up the TV, and then like does the same thing later in the movie. Like 5 minutes later, he seems so impressionable despite the fact that he's against everything. It doesn't make sense.
No, it does not.
But it doesn't need to, because then there's cool action stuff that happens.
Yeah, so he's just fighting, being cool. I'm sure he had to do a lot of intense stuff on wire work. If you don't know what wire work is, it's when they bounce you around on a fucking wire on a set behind a bunch of green screen. Being on a wire is really hard to orient yourself and make it look natural and stuff like that. So he's probably doing, and again, you're suspended 50 or 60 feet in the air, throwing your fist and arms around, trying to, pretend like you're not a sane human. Go back to being a sane human being at the end of the day. So, yeah. Yeah. So eventually they get into a fight, and Black Adam's like, "All right, I'll meet with the Justice Society." And then they meet, and then like the Justice
And then
Society acts like
they
they
try to
just act
fight
like
again.
no, they act like fucking huge assholes to each other for like 5 minutes of them just talking mad shit to each other, and then they just get into a fucking another fucking fight.
He just
Um,
keeps going to look at the statue of himself. The Justice League shows up. He fights them. They go all around the city. He goes back to the statue. They come back. They talk. They fight. Like it just happens like 45 times.
yeah,
I mean, it only happens like 4 times, but yeah. Also, here's a problem that like I have with the story. This motherfucker, who apparently is the leader of Inner Gang, is just casually on their expedition with them, and they have no idea who he is.
yeah. Oh yeah, they have some betrayal guy, Mister
Like
the Betrayal, the Mister
they
Plot
have
Device.
they have all this intel about Inner Gang and their ability to find the crown within a couple days, but they have no fucking clue who this guy is. Is that what you're telling me? I just
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
doesn't make a lot
So
of sense.
what happens? So what happens is they grab. Well, okay, so the crown, right? They get the crown. They escape with the crown. The lady, the archaeologist, freedom fighter lady. Again, like here's the thing: like these characters, dude, they're so one-dimensional, two-sided. Like one total 1D characters, one-off side characters for the superhero movie. Never gonna come up again. So like they're really just there to serve the plot device of Black Adam, going between different action scenes and blowing stuff up and kicking ass and stuff. So they get the crown, they take it back. Eventually, the kid has a crown, and he like trusts this dude who he thought was a freedom fighter for Kondak, but it turns out he's like the leader of Intergang, and he's like he really, really wants the crown. And anyone who has like two fucking brain cells come together, like, oh, I bet at the end of the movie he's gonna put on the crown and become super OP. I had that figured out, like halfway through the movie.
Yeah, but that also makes no sense in terms
Yeah.
of the movie because, like, okay, okay, all right. So he wanted the crown, right? Here's the whole thing, right? Like, let's say everything went according to this guy's plan, right? They
Mm.
go there to the temple thing. They get the crown and then they leave. And Energang never shows up, right? And then this
Mm.
guy gets the crown. Then what? He kills himself? Like what would have happened then? Because the whole thing is then he wants Black Adam to kill him so that he can be reborn as Sabak. And he needed the crown for what reason? Because he gets killed with the crown, and then they take the crown, and then he's dead. And without the crown, he regenerates and becomes Sabak. So why the fuck does he need the crown? What would he have done if Black Adam didn't come back? Like, all these things line up so coincidentally to work without it actually working within the story, which again, that's why I think the story is really bad. But if you want the actiony fun stuff, there's a lot of it. It's great. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So the kid gets the crown. He has it. He hides it from the dude. But the kid gets captured, right? And then Black Adam goes on this chase scene and get this kid. And this is a little bit when he starts bonding with the JSA, and he's not like a monster or whatever. Um, Eventually they travel away. They do some interrogation, and they figure out that the kid is being held captive at this mind that Intergang has. And Black Adam's like, okay, I'm gonna go there and blow stuff up. The JSA has been like slowly eking towards, oh, maybe I should maybe I should we should help out these people instead of like letting them suffer ad hominem forever. So yeah, the JSA decides to team up to beat up Intergang. They fly to this giant mine. They're like, okay, we're gonna have our attack plan strategy meeting, and then Black Adam just jumps out and goes blow shit up, and then they all show up. Um, they're using an Eternium shield. The Black Adam can't penetrate. Black Adam goes like they're about to shoot the kid. Black Adam deflects the bullets. They get into fights. Like the guy, I forget what
They
happened.
don't
Black
even
Adam
get
just
into a fight. Like
yeah
he fires, so he turns off the shield,
yeah for some reason.
fires the gun, so that Black Adam will swoop in, stop the bullet, and kill him. And he does. But what if he didn't kill him? Like, all these things happen so coincidentally for this villain to be resurrected as Sabak. And it's just like, what if those things didn't? And I get it, like they did, so it's like the conversation is kind of pointless. But like the fact that it's happening, like sure it makes sense. Black Adam kills people, you know, but like how does the villain know he's gonna get murdered, and why is he okay with that? And if all he had to do was die, why didn't he just kill himself or whatever? I mean, the point is like he needed Black Adam to kill him so he can go to the underworld and tell the demons so he can become their champion. Like all that makes sense. But again, he would have needed Black Adam from the whole time, and his plan wasn't necessarily involving Black Adam, it was just to get the crown.
Yeah.
So
So he gets blown up. He gets turned into char. He's got like the crown on his head, and they can't remove it from him or whatever like that. And they think like movie's almost over at this point. We're like 30 minutes away from the fucking end. They all leave, and then Pierce Brosnan, Doctor Fate, has like a premonition. Like he sees because this whole time he's been seeing Hawkman like getting killed and dying. And he's like trying to avoid that future because he likes Hawkman a lot. So then this dude gets the crown like on his head, and it turns out this whole time like
before this though,
yeah,
Black Adam for some reason makes the decision to allow them to like contain
restrain him
forever.
Yes, yep. Basically, they put him away in the hole.
So contrived to me.
It's
like,
so, yeah, very foolish. Very.
We
foolish.
know he's gonna get out.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, what the fuck is the point of the movie? Why have a movie called Black Adam and then just have the Justice Society defeat Sabbac, right? Like, makes no sense. It's he's gonna get out. Like, what is the point of it? I wish movies like this would just like cut out some of this unnecessary bullshit that like you clearly see through. Yeah. Anyway, so continue.
Well, you see, yeah. So he goes to this underground. Okay, what happens is he explains the story. It turns out that Dwayne the Rock Johnson isn't the real Black Adam, and in fact that he is the son of he's the father of the real Black Adam, who was his kid in the beginning. The Wizards gave the kid the power. He turned into this OP hero. He was being like nice, a savior and stuff like that. He returns home to find that his mother and father have been killed by Sabac's, the old king's, assassins. He gives his power up to his father so that his father will live, and then he's immediately off by assassins. Black Adam then goes on a rampage and blows up Kahndaq, essentially, as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's sealed away by the Wizards. That's a true story, and I think that's kind of cool, actually. Like that there was kind of I like hidden plot devices.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
That's about all this story had going for it.
Yeah. And then
so he feels bad. He's reflecting. That's why he keeps going to the statue, because it's not of him, it's of his son. And then Hawkman's like, hey man, that's cool, but hey, just say Shazam, become like weak again, and we'll go lock you up. It's all good. And so for some reason he agrees to that despite everything. And we see James Gunn's wife, the blonde lady in the underwater prison thing.
I don't know if that like has a specific name or anything like that. Like
her character's name is Harcourt, and she was pretty prevalent in Peacemaker. And then she married James Gunn. So
I really need to rewatch that movie. I don't know.
The Suicide Squad?
No, not that's. I really need to rewatch Peacemaker.
Oh, yeah. I like Peacemaker. You didn't like it as much, but
yeah, well, I didn't really finish it, so I should probably go and give it another big chance, see how it goes. I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah. Then they're like, "Hey guys, we're gonna go.
So they see him. Yeah, they see him away. They're about to leave. They got everything in They got everything in the cargo plane. They're taking off. The corpse starts to glow. Surprise, surprise! Turns out that he needed to off himself. Like they discover the text through contrived reason. Like, oh, you flip it and then reflect it through a mirror computer. And then the computer doesn't it's like, oh no, we've been wrong. And then turns out he needed to be dead for the crown's magic to possess his body. And then he's possessed by this giant, cool looking demon dude, with a giant pentagram on his chest. He starts throwing fire everywhere, and he's trying to sit down on his throne. And then the Justice Society goes to start fighting him. Dr. Fate goes off to sacrifice himself
Yeah,
essentially at
really, it's
first.
just Doctor Fate who fights him.
Yeah.
He's like,
Doctor Fate does some really cool stuff. Again, like the effects for Doctor Fate look great. The outfit is awesome. Pierce Brosnan, like his like voice when it's put through that modular thing is like
mm-hmm.
it's great. It's everything about Doctor. Like they should make a fucking Doctor Fate movie.
That's the
They
other
were
dude. This is what I hate about fandom, though. To be honest, like because this movie came out and now everybody's like, we need a Cyclone spinoff, we need an Atom Smasher spinoff, we need a Hawkman spinoff, we need a Black Adam, we need a Doctor Fate spinoff, and it's like the only one I care about in all those is Doctor Fate, and like, why do we need 30,000 spinoffs? Just make more movies with the characters in them, like Marvel does. Jesus. But yeah, go on.
So then there's this really dumb thing where Dr. Fate like uses magic to he's like, "Oh shit, I'm losing. I've got to use my magic to project myself across the planet down into this prison to free Black Adam." Black Adam is freed. He's getting the shit shut out of him. He's getting beat up as fuck. He swims into the it's just the stupidest fucking sequence in my like. The more I think about it, I was like, wow, it was really really bad. So he gets like shot to shit. He's getting beat up. Like you have to remember, like he lost the magic, right? He said Shazam, and he turned from like the buff god into like weak slave,
some frail
Dwayne
old
Rock
man.
Johnson. Yeah. So he's getting just the shit kicked out of him. He jumps into like a pool of water, and he's obviously clearly almost like half a mile down below, like in sub-zero temperature water.
And they needed a fucking jet to get down there. Like the whole point of this prison is that even if you escape, you cannot reach the surface.
So he starts swimming to the surface. He makes it, and he yells Shazam, and he flies. And none of that stuff matters because he's healed by the magic or fucking whatever. Again, really bad, really stupid scene. Very ineffective. Very foolish. Very short-sighted. Not good at all.
Yeah, again, I wish they would have skipped that shit. And when he's underwater, he takes the thing out of his mouth and just screams Shazam and then flies out.
Yeah, that it would have been cool if the lightning like followed all the way through the water. That would have been really cool actually, but they didn't do that because we can't have anything nice. He flies back. He beats up Sabak. Like there's like all the fight scenes are great. So, but there's nothing really special about that one other than he's like fighting another superhuman, which he's already been doing anyway. So it's just a bunch of cool shit. Eventually, Black Adam like goes and sits on the throne. He's like, oh, this feels wrong. He flies up and he destroys the throne. And then I'm the protector of Kahndaq now. Blah 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 blah. Everyone feels good about themselves. The movie's over. Pierce Brosnan is dead. Hawkman, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher are alive.
Hawkman uses the helmet briefly too, and
yep, it looks cool with we see the eyes. I think that's the first time we saw the eyes, right? We didn't see them when he was wearing it before. Now we really see the eyes for the first time on the helmet, and it looked amazing. A little something for my friend. I think that's what he said.
Yeah. Yeah. So, oh yeah, and then my favorite part. I hate this shit, man.
The end.
The weak writing of. Well, because his name is outdated. His name is now outdated. So what are we gonna call you? And then he just looks at the camera and smiles, and then the name Black Adam comes on the screen. It's like, bro, This shit is a trope from like 1923, my brother. Since films have been existing, like, come on.
Yep.
And then there's a post-credit scene that everybody was so hyped about, even though it got spoiled, and not a single person in our theater cheered when Superman showed up. Which was great because then at least we could hear what they had to say, which was honestly nothing special. It just sounds like
Yeah.
Superman
so what happens is a little drone flies.
He does get a new costume at the end that looks way better than the original costume at the beginning. It's like way clearer. It looks sick. But yeah, Amanda Waller sends a drone. Continue.
Yeah. So Amanda Waller sends a drone, comes down. Amanda Waller pops up. She's like, fuck you, Black Adam. You're a fucking cheap skank bitch. You piece of fucking shit. You stay there in your stupid little fucking country and go fuck yourself. Fuck you. And Black Adam, Dwayne The Rock Johnson's like, fuck you. I'm going to beat the shit out of anyone you send over here. They're a bunch of fucking clowns in the world's biggest circus tent, all right?
He's like, there ain't a single person on Earth that can fuck with me dead ass, bro.
Yeah.
And she's like, I could call in favors from outside the Earth, bitch.
It's so... that happens.
Yeah, she called in that favor in like 3 seconds. I'm telling you, my dude.
Yeah.
He destroys the drone, and then motherfucking Superman just pops out. He's like, hey.
Yeah, so Superman descends out from the smoke. And then we Black Adam and it's Henry Cavill. I guess in the original plan was that you just saw the S floating through the smoke and then it cut. But I guess it's Henry Cavill now. And he's like, all right, Black Adam, let's talk. And yeah, we
He's like,
got
we
that.
should talk. You got a lot of people really nervous, and that hasn't happened for a while. And I'm truth, justice, in the American way, even though that slogan has been changed now. Hey, you know what I'm saying? We should talk, brother. And then, yeah, then we cut to the rest of the 45 minutes of credits. So,
Yep. All in all, like you said, it's a good action movie. Not the not the strongest anything else movie.
for me, this is like the perfect movie for you because
Mm,
like anytime we've talked about like certain movies like you seem very excited about like monster movies, which like plots are generally not very good for, but like you just want
yeah,
to see fucking Godzilla and Mothra and fucking whatever like fighting, like which is it's
yeah.
sick, so like this movie has all that kind of stuff, but really lacks any foundational story or anything.
Yeah. So I like all movies. Like, The Imitation Game is still to this day probably one of my favorite renditions of a historical drama. But with that being said, like, The Imitation Game has a lot of really good, solid writing and amazing character work and all that kind of stuff. And like, it really puts on stress and drama at the same time. Like, this movie just doesn't have any
Honestly,
capable.
if I'm like 8 to 12 years old, I probably would love this
Oh
movie.
yeah, yeah, definitely, 100%.
But as a grown adult with a functioning brain and a deep understanding of storytelling, I think this movie isn't very good. But I enjoy the parts of it that are the action and the fight sequences and the CGI honestly is very well done. Um, the parts of it that are good are really good. So
Mm, yeah, and that's the strength in them. More strong. Hopefully, the DC movies, just keep getting stronger and stronger.
yeah, which they should. I think with a strong vision from the top, the movie should do well. Uh, the problem is that there hasn't been much vision from the top, and what there has been, it just hasn't been very good. Uh,
Mm,
and that that's maybe that's a little harsh because honestly, like Aquaman as a movie isn't bad. Like Shazam as a movie isn't bad. Like they're not great. Again, they're similar to Black Adam. I think the stories in those movies are a little better. While the action is a little, in between. Like it's not as good as Black Adam, but it's not bad either.
mm,
Like the problem is like you still feel like there's very little to no cohesiveness,
yeah.
and
In
like
the DC, there's like no like when we were building up towards Endgame, you could really feel it like in those last couple six or seven movies. But not here. Like you don't really know what's going on. Like you don't know like maybe they trying to build up to like more dark side stuff? Maybe, but it just keeps not happening.
and that's where like you can understand a lot of the criticism for like this phase of Marvel is because fans have felt like it is less cohesive. Like it's just like they're no longer expanding our understanding of the MCU, which is what DC films have felt like. It's not doing anything to help enhance the what the DC universe is. Like it's just like here's a new character and that's just their story. It's like, well, that's very 2000 superhero movie of you, but like we're in a modern world where people need a little more than that. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Overall, like I hope the future for DC continues to be good. I have faith in it. I look forward to seeing The Rock's Black Adam in other projects with other characters, and eventually, hopefully, in a Shazam movie. I agree that his character maybe needed this movie to kind of establish who he is and what his motivations are and whatever.
Mm.
And hopefully that'll make his eventual showdown with Shazam better. I don't understand this obsession with the showdown with Superman. I think that's like a Rock obsession. I don't get that necessarily.
Mm.
But hopefully we get him in a Shazam movie in the future,
Yeah.
and get some real showdown there. Um, But yeah, it's hard to grade this movie. It's hard to give it a score. Um, but
I, I get, yeah, and like we're all moving away from scores and stuff like that. Like at the end of the day, you either like the movie or you fucking hated the movie. Like I
yeah,
sat down, I watched it, I was like, okay, like these action scenes are cool. Dwayne the Rock Johnson is Dwayne the Rock Johnson, so I know I'm not going to get the most like heartbreaking like monologues and stuff like that. Everyone else, the only other thing that I was excited for, what you were excited for too, is Pierce Brosnan as Doctor Fate, and that was really about it, to be
yeah,
honest. Like none of the other actors, I don't know them. Like I apologize if they're listening to the podcast, but I don't know who you are, and if I don't know who you are, I don't know what to tell you.
yeah,
So with that, and I didn't know anything about the director or the writer or anything like that, but I could tell in the first 30 minutes it's just going to be a dumb action movie, and I was okay with that.
yeah. You
Uh,
you did ask me about comic book Black Adam a little bit, and like the thing with these kind of movies that I used to be really like into this, like super into like how deeply related is it to the comic book, uh
yeah,
and honestly, like I don't care about that anymore, mostly because it has nothing to do with the movie. Like I get it, the character is based on the character from the comics, and the story is going to be adapted from parts of the comic and things like that, and it's like that's all well and good, and that's why we love these characters, is because we know them from the comics. But whether it's accurate or not to the comics has no bearing on whether it's a good movie or not. So that's why, like, I just kind of don't care about that as much. And the movie that really broke me with that was Iron Man 3,
mm,
because we knew Mandarin was going to be in it, and I was like, man, we're going to see all this shit with the 10 rings and like the different powers and all this, unique things and this and that. And then like the movie came out, and I hated it because I felt like it was like an insult to the legacy of the comics and all this stuff. And then I think about it, and I'm like, well, the movie itself, apart from all that, isn't bad. Like it just feels like it's bad because I feel like they did a disservice to the Mandarin, and I feel like they did a disservice to the Ten Rings, and I feel like Aldrich Killian is a fucking nobody. Like he's a random scientist who dies in like the first issue you see him in a comic. Like why do we care about any of this shit? And it's like, well, again, 95% of people don't care about that stuff. They're just going to see a movie and hope it's good or not. Like,
yeah,
and I mean, I get it. Like these things are important to us as nerds and whatever, and like this is our foundation and blah blah blah. And like the problem with nerd fandom is how gatekeepy it is, how much we rely on our knowledge of things that nobody else cares about to make it seem like we're better fans or whatever than them. And it's like, sure, all that stuff is great, and you can still love the comic books, but this is not that for you, or it doesn't have to be. Like these are adaptations, these are films, and so that's kind of where I'm at with it. But this movie isn't much different than the comics. Like it's not like they didn't completely change Black Adam's origin or anything. So
yeah. Well, for me, like I'm just not a fan of comics. Like even I don't read manga. Yeah, that's another thing. I read light novels, but I don't read manga. I've never been interested in reading stuff like that. Like I prefer using my own head to visualize everything.
yeah,
Uh, so it's for me. If there were things here that made comic book fans upset, like it's something that goes over my head because it's just part of it's part of why you're selling the movie to the general audience. So the audience is general.
right, yeah.
So
Comic book
it's
fans are a small portion of fans for these things, and it's like it's okay. Like it's hard because a lot of times, like for me, the one of the most important things is like the characters, right? And it's the same. People are very inconsistent with the way they think about these things. You can look at Aragorn in The Lord of the Rings. He's completely different in the movies and the books, like almost a completely different character.
mm,
But it's not a bad character. It doesn't change necessarily like your feelings about the character. It's just like in the movies he's more complex. He has more of an internal struggle because they need that drama. Whereas like in the book he's more like a classic hero. Like he's chosen essentially,
yeah,
and is inherently special, which is a hard thing for modern audiences to understand. So it makes sense why he was changed in the movie and why it works in the movie, but like it is pretty much a different character. In the almost, there are similar things with like Captain America. Like Chris Evans' Captain America is far more interesting than comic book Captain America to me. And same with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Iron Man in comics is boring to me, but Robert Downey Jr.'s performance makes that character like, they're not a whole bunch different, like, but Robert Downey Jr. really sold that character.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot that goes into it, but just because something's different or changed doesn't mean it's gonna be bad. So
Yeah. And
that's
that's
what
all we
I've
can
come
do is
to.
all we can do is hope that everything doesn't suck.
Yeah,
Um,
the way I look at it is like your knowledge. So you shouldn't need knowledge of comics or source material to watch the movie and understand it and enjoy it. Because if you do, then that movie or project isn't good because it doesn't tell its full story. It's relying on other information to tell its story. But you should still have an enhanced viewing because of your knowledge, right? So there
yeah,
will be little Easter eggs. That's the whole point of Easter eggs. It's like, hey, you read the comics, you're gonna be rewarded because of this line or this, or like you understand this. Whereas other people will miss that, but they won't miss like they won't miss the point of the movie because of it. Like they still get the full thing. You just get a little bit extra because you have that knowledge. And so like that's where it's done the best, and that's where I'm happy with it. But a lot of fans are never satisfied. So
yeah, never satisfied.
yeah. But all I'm interested in this point is good stories, good
Yeah,
movies.
the movies in the DC in the DC like DC movies. There's more of them. Like it doesn't have to be DCU at this point. Like the
Yeah,
Batman was pretty good. I'm pretty sure that the Penguin series is going to be like pretty good when it comes out, or at least I can hope.
yeah, you'd
Uh,
imagine.
yeah, Phil Collins really seemed to like it a lot. So,
Phil
but
Collins.
other, I'm sorry, what was his name? The guy who plays the Penguin.
Oh, Farrell, Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell. Okay, there we go. Sorry, had it in reverse. My bad. Still really good though, and I just think that this movie did not change the balance of power in the DCEU. That much is certain. But it did give the DCEU some ground to stand upon, which is better than no ground at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic, and I hope for the best for it. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Black Adam. I don't know if you have anything to add. But yeah, I'm done with that. I'm done with Black Adam. Honestly, like I don't think I'll watch the movie again. Certainly not in theaters.
Yeah.
But it's a fine movie for good action. We'll probably watch clips on YouTube in the future, and that's about it. Um, but yeah, what else have you been up to, huh? You've been partying hard and shit.
With myself. That's about it. Yeah, I've just been chilling, watching a bunch of anime, still reading the Earthsea trilogy and everything like that.
Yeah,
Right now, I'm catching up on My Hero Academia. After I finish Earthsea, I'm moving on to Kith and Kin, which is the Critical Role. I'm not sure if you know what that is. It's a really popular D&D show on
yeah,
Twitch.
yeah, yeah. I'm familiar. Well, I
Yeah,
haven't watched it, but I'm familiar with it.
well, they took their brand and they really went as far as they could go with it. So, they published a book series though called Kith and Kin. So I'm gonna give it a good once over, see if it's any good. Um, Aside from that, just plugging along. Like I said, for real estate, I'm going to be doing it for the next 5 years, just consistently. Got to build it up slowly over time. That's what it takes, to really hit a stride. So
Yeah,
that's all I'm really going to be doing.
yeah. Are you playing any new video games?
No, I'm trying to beat Fallout 4 right now.
No,
So I'm playing
Overwatch
that.
2 dropped. It's free. It's free to play.
I'm good.
Maybe sometime we'll play together. I've never played, honestly.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good off of Overwatch. That shit was just so stupid. Like they took down the original Overwatch, so they didn't give you a fucking choice.
Well, yeah,
You
but
know?
I mean, it's free to play. So,
Yeah, it's still dumb as fuck.
yeah. I haven't played any of Overwatch 2, and I only played minimal amounts of Overwatch 1. But um, I don't really play video games much, and even if I did, I don't really have people to play with. So aside from you,
Yeah.
because I know you play a lot of games, but
So I'm a gamer. It's my first. That's the first thing I always introduce myself as.
yeah.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of good games I need to play right now. But I told myself a few years ago when the pandemic started that I'm gonna beat every game in my Steam library before I buy any new games.
How'd that
Uh,
work out?
so far I've actually beaten over 300 games. So
Oh,
I've only got my RPGs left actually,
but
the
have you
hard ones,
bought
like
games during that time?
only multiplayer games to play with friends. That's the only one. I can't remember the last multiplayer game I got something in. What was
You're gonna
it?
play Gotham Knights, or do you not have a PS5?
Oh, we could plug. Oh, I don't have a
I
PS5.
think I think it's PS5 exclusive. I don't have a
Um,
PS5
the
either.
last game I bought was Elden Ring for
Yeah.
obvious reasons.
Well, yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, and
that makes sense.
I got No Man's Sky when it was on sale because
Hmm.
it's like when it was like $3.99 and like it's a completely different game now. So, um,
Yeah.
got I'd rather get it for cheap than give them full amount of money when the game re-released and the game was fucking shit. So, on the nerd front, I've just been all in on anime. I know that's not your biggest thing. I'm catching up with My Hero Academia. After I finish My Hero Academia, I'm going to move on to Fire Force. So after Fire Force, I'm going to go to Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jesus.
And then I'll be all caught up on all the modern animes and I go pick up some hot e-girls and talk about anime all day. So,
I've been gonna a couple concerts lately.
mm,
That was pretty cool. You leave the venue and you feel deaf for a little bit till the
mm.
next day when you're not deaf anymore. But yeah, uh, you know, you should go to some concerts sometime. You should enjoy concerts.
And those cost money. So,
Well,
all right, I'm gonna start when I start selling houses. Like I said, I'm gonna buy some streaming gear so I could do streaming a little bit more seriously. And I think I'm gonna start going to ship festivals and I want to go to SAC Anime.
oh,
I
I
want to
do
go to
not want to go to festivals.
I want to go to SAC Anime. I want to go to like the Renaissance Fair next year. I want to there's stuff I want to do, but that costs money.
There's Ren fairs around here every now and then.
Yeah, the Northern California Renaissance Festival is like really popular.
Yeah,
It's a really big one too. More
yeah.
consistent, it's been going on since like the 60s or 70s, I think. So it's pretty dope.
When I used to go to SAC Anime just to debut new cosplays, but I'm not really into SAC Anime much.
Mm.
But occasionally you'll get really good panels, and I think this year, I don't know if it's SAC Anime or like one of the other SAC cons. There's like some people from The Last Airbender coming, and so like it's always cool when they do like have a bunch of voice actors come and they have panels and they talk about the show, and like those are all cool. Like I remember I went to one for Sailor Moon Crystal.
Mm.
I didn't watch the show, but I went to the panel. Like those are always cool. Um, have you gone to a lot of conventions before? Like, are you familiar with them?
Few, but then they started costing a lot of money, so I stopped going.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know what SAG anime costs now, but it used to be like $50 for 3 days, or
yeah,
like more or like 40 per day, if you like buy a single. But you could usually do like $50 for like the full weekend.
yep,
It only got expensive because I was buying tickets for everyone.
yeah.
Uh,
So I'm gonna try. Well, the thing is, like right now, I just don't have any money. Because here's the thing, like I don't real estate. You're self-employed.
yeah.
You don't get a pay. I get paid from a commission rate based on the sale of the home. The
Right.
listing agent gets paid, and then the listing agent pays me if I'm a buyer's agent or if I'm the listing agent, vice versa. And so I don't really, I'm working part time at the brokerage right now because they need tech support and all that kind of stuff that I'm providing to them. That's
Yep.
only $400 a week. That's, I know that sounds like a lot of money to some people, but in California,
Bro,
that's not
that is nothing in California.
that is nothing. It's nothing. It really isn't. You could spend that you could spend that going out to eat. Like,
Bro, I'm
so,
telling you, I make 2.5 times that a week, and I can barely afford anything.
yeah, so you know me, I'm always in and out of the struggle right now. But as soon as I make my first sale, the average commission rate in California is almost around 19 grand. So I just really got to get that first sale down. That's the most important thing I got to do,
Yep.
and then I got to pay back my association dues, which my broker paid for me. To become so I could start being an agent, and then just use that as my foundation to build upon.
Yep.
and then just get more and more sales. Like in 5 years, like after everything's done, I want to buy a house. That's like the 5 year end plan is to eventually have my business to a point where I can move out into a house and either have it paid off in a 10-year fixed or even a 5 year fixed if I could do that, or just pay cash. So that's what I'm going for right now. Because
Nice.
I really want a house. So yeah,
Yeah, I want a house
I need my,
too, but
I need my own place, and I just gotta like I typed up my own like I kept. This is the thing, guys. Like, if you ever like get confused with budget software, just fucking open up Google Sheets and just type in all your monthly expenses and try and figure out something that works for you. That's what I just started doing, and it's like getting all my cost on a paper and seeing how much I got going out and how much I got coming in.
yeah.
Really does. It can really help a lot.
It's just like everything else. Like if you really care about it and you put the time and effort in, like and stick to your plan, like I get it. Life is hard, and every now and then you want to like splurge and like whatever. It's just like getting in shape. If you're sticking to your diet and working out consistently, you're gonna see results. But if you're eating cheat meals every day, you're not. Just like with finances, if you're going out to eat every day, you're not gonna save money. So if you're committed to it and you know how to go without and stop giving into those temptations all the time, then you'll be good.
For me, the hardest part will always be eating out. That's going to be especially in California. We're cursed. We got a lot of really good food out here.
Yeah.
And cannabis. Cannabis gets quite expensive. Like, sometimes I'll spend way too much money. Like, I'll spend $75 at the pot shop, which is like almost a fourth of my entire paycheck. Yeah, and yeah, I know it's personal choice and all that kind of stuff. And it just helps me chill at the end of the day. It really does. Like, when I get home from a really stressful day or anything's going on, I can just smoke some weed and play some video games and really unwind.
Is it? I don't know how it works, but since like pot is legal and like medical marijuana is legal, like can you get like insurance like to pay for it if you get like a
No.
doctor to prescribe or like recommend?
No, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Like if you
about
go to
that.
your doctor and you're like, "Yo, I got bad anxiety and weed helps" or whatever, and the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, okay, here I prescribe you to take some medical marijuana." Like, can you get your insurance to cover some of that?
I don't know because I've never done that before because I just walk into the store. The stores don't take credit card. For those of you that don't know, they can't because it's
Yeah.
still a federally controlled substance. So like internet, it can't be banked. Like banks can't handle it across state lines. So debit or cash only, which is a great fucking business to be in.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it certainly can be a great business to be in.
yeah. With all that being said, I just got to control costs, and also they have some really good deals on weed. And like, if you know how to get it, like they have some pretty good so like how it works is basically there's like 18 to 20% is considered $2 chuck, 23 everything between 20% and like 30% is considered okay. This is pretty good weed, and then everything 30% over THC content is like wow, this is like some amazing moon rock weed, right?
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes they'll have really good deals. You can get something like what I got the other last week is 25% for $15 an eighth. So I'm thinking about it, just budgeting it, making sure I don't go it because that stuff that's like 30% and over, it's always like $45 or $50 or even sometimes $60 for an eighth. So it really does add up. It really does. You just got to control your cost.
Yeah.
What about you? What's going on?
Um. Not a whole lot. Like I say, I went to a couple concerts. The thing is, like, dude, I almost went 2 days in a row because there was like two good concerts in a row.
Hmm.
But I ended up, not going to the second one just because like they're both on weeknights. I got work and shit. So, but I've been enjoying like going to concerts lately, and I got another
Good.
one in December. And I know you say you don't have a lot of money, but if you ever want to go and you make the trip up, I will get you a ticket.
Yeah, I just
Uh,
like stoner metal concerts and stuff like that, though. Like
Bro,
doom
all
metal.
metal is stoner metal.
Doom metal, yeah, it's all. Well, no, I'm just saying like doom metal, like desert rock, that kind of
Yeah, but
psychedelic rock.
so what I go to are usually like metalcore bands or
Yeah,
like post hardcore like kind of music. Like
those guys, you guys see throwing the hands in the pit. They throw those elbows in there.
one of the shows I went to, yeah, some guy like okay, so
Dude,
this venue.
those guys throwing elbows have no fucking idea what they're doing. When I mean, like, they don't understand like how dangerous a human elbow thrown at
Oh
first
yeah,
can
yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah.
I just don't think
These
they
guys are
understand that at
fucking
all.
crazy.
It,
Like
yeah,
so the venue I was at, like it's kind of like a bar, but like there's like a floor and like a stage and like barrier, and then like there's even like stairs and stuff. You can like watch over the balcony, but
Mm.
like because there's a bar downstairs and upstairs, like as people are hardcore dancing, like they're spilling drinks everywhere, like everywhere. And so like there's a section of the floor where everybody's hardcore dancing, and it's just the floors are wet and sticky and shit.
Mm.
And like it was the last band was playing on the show I went to, and like people were like dancing like crazy, and you could tell some shit was about to go down. First of all, there's someone standing near the bar who very clearly doesn't understand the show they're at. Because as soon as some guy started dancing near him, she tried to fight him.
Mm.
It's like, well, I mean, you're standing in the circle, my dude. Like that's why we're standing over here on the side, because we're not trying to get fucked up.
Yeah.
But I understand. Like if I got hit with a fist or an elbow or some shit just standing there, I'd be pretty mad too. But you could tell something was gonna happen, and like the last song was playing, and this motherfucker's in the pit, and he fucking snaps his ankle. Like you see it happen. His ankle just goes, whoosh, and he's just sitting there, like his whole foot is like dangling. And like whatever, and then like after the show, I see him outside with paramedics and shit. Like you could tell some shit is gonna happen. That's like people just don't think about this shit. And of course, because it's like technically like a bar, like everybody's fucked up, like so these things happen. But this last show I went to, like a lot of the bands were more like they weren't as like screaming, like a lot of them were like just like they're heavy, but like they just have a singer. And so people
bands.
weren't like as hardcore dancing to that music, but they did it at the end with Alisana. They were like the headliner. And then the show I'm going to in December is probably more up your speed, to be honest. I mean, like they're melodic, technical bands, but it's like the thing with all these bands is all these motherfuckers are high all the time.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah,
so
it's
like
just and too like touring's rough. Also, like being in a fucking van like for 6 or 7 hours a day every day for like 3 weeks is not an easy life. That's for sure.
yeah. So
Um, yeah. The thing about like stoner metal, like I don't know, like I see the thing is like they are high. I like the bands that sing about being high, like Dope Lord and like Bongzilla and all those kind of guys, stuff like that. Some just I don't know, like weed. So.
yeah. So
And I'm gonna, I've got a lot of bands to follow me on Instagram. I'm not sure if I talked about this before. I got a couple bands following me on Instagram, like a good chunk of bands and record labels follow me now on Instagram. So I think too that's gonna be part of my streaming. Is probably where I'm gonna do my own podcast where I just cover stoner and doom metal stuff for like the week, and then maybe do some maybe do some album listens. I don't want to do reviews because I'm not a musician. I don't claim to be. I could probably pick up the guitar and start playing if I really wanted to, but
it's just like everything else. So you don't need to be. Like, we're not film critics, but we're reviewing movies. Like we're not trained film critics, but we're reviewing movies. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with saying like reviewing an album and saying like I like this song, I don't like this song because this makes me feel this way or this makes me feel like that way. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like I don't doubt yourself. Don't lose confidence just because you don't understand the technical parts of music or like what the guitarist is doing in this part. Like you don't need to. If the music either sounds good or it doesn't to you,
Yeah,
so
that's the thing going to. So I'm just gonna do some reviews. Maybe on another thing I really would like to do too is like really support bands eventually when my date I'm thinking about like this. I'm gonna have a day job which is real estate. I'm gonna have a night job which is streaming, podcasting, and being an author.
yeah.
I'm talking about nonstop cannabis. So I gotta kind of keep the two. I gotta keep the two lives separate.
Right.
But this is what you kind of got to do sometimes when you're like. This is another thing. Eventually, we'll talk about She-Hulk. Finish it off because there was a scene I think which is something that happens where throughout the series where it just really brought up where she's kind of been in a couple of hookups and like then that gets displayed to her by all her like in front of her colleagues. And it is kind of nerve-wracking to have like essentially an alternative lifestyle like me and like I love listening to slow drowning music, smoking weed, like talking to hot chicks, living with hot chicks, being around hot chicks. I don't know, that part comes later. So it's just it's kind of like a lifestyle, and that's what I'm kind of trying to build for myself. Where I go to shows and I have the money where I can just buy like all their merch and like every one of their shirts and stuff like that, and go bring good weed to smoke at the band and stuff like that. Go backstage, just have a good time. Be someone at this, be someone that supports these bands because it's a rough life being a band for a subgenre of many subgenre of metal that a lot of people just don't understand or know or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, that was a spiel. Yeah, that's the plan though. You know, the author stuff and the because all that influence stuff, all kind of like the gaming streaming stuff, all kinds of pours. They're all kind of based off of social media. You know, so they're all just kind of in the same locale and they all kind of pour in together.
Yeah.
So, but to do all that first, I need to get my day job off the ground so I can get some real money. Is yeah, importante.
Importante. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna end here because it's late. I have to eat food
Yep.
and shit.
Oh yeah.
But we still don't worry, guys. We still have plenty of plans. We got to talk about the rest of the Rings of Power, She-Hulk, and/or when it finishes eventually. You know, a bunch of other things. Wakanda Forever comes out in like 2 weeks.
Yep.
We'll be
I'll be up there again. Yep.
So we'll be talking about that as well. But yeah, lots of exciting things coming. We appreciate everybody who listens.
Fun little outro. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, Black Adam is now the #1 worst movie ever made, according to the San Francisco Chronicle. So I'll need to.
But Warner Brothers won't care because it made a ton of money. So
yeah, that's like all that. It wasn't his best payday ever, like his biggest payday.
It was his biggest opening ever.
Yeah.
And then there were revised numbers from actually the weekend that were higher than initially. So like the movie is doing well. It's doing very well, and that's all DC will care about. They will not care about all the people who hate the movie. So
yeah, and so like here's the thing too, like critics can see what sorry we were saying goodbye and now we're back here again. But critics say whatever critics want to fucking say. At the end of the day, sit down, watch the movie. Did you like the movie or not? Like, this is what's going on. I'm having the struggle right now, too, with Amsterdam. Amsterdam looks like a really good movie that I would like. It has Christian Bale and, like,
it has
Chris
a
Rock.
crazy good cast.
Yeah, and it looks like an alternative movie that I would really enjoy. But I heard the reviews are, like, all over the place. So it kind of makes me not want to go see it. But then I'm thinking, like, man, I should just go fucking see this movie by myself. You know, like, I just, like, got to stop worrying. I just got to go see it because I love Christian Bale. I think he's a top-tier actor. He's probably one of the best in the world. I love Chris Rock. He hasn't been in a movie in a long time, but he's really fucking funny, and he's great. He is a really good actor when he wants to be.
Yeah.
And then it was Emma Stone, right? That was the other. That was
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie, yeah,
Again,
another
great
like
A-list celebrity.
A-list celebrity, not even that, but she's just a great actor. Like she's Harley Quinn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she's done action sequences that are really hard to do because I remember I was watching like the behind the scenes of the new Suicide Squad that came out, and she was doing all this crazy stunt shit in a dress.
Yeah, so, she did like the full toe thing, like
yeah,
you know, she has very opposable toes. So do I.
Toes,
I can do some crazy
so either way, like so she's an actor. What that means is like they put their heart, body, and soul into the movie. So I really just got to go see it. So don't let critics or anyone or anything we see get you down. If you want to go see Black Adam, go see it, and if you love it, that's great. And if you hate it, well, take a ticket, take a number to sit down. Yeah. So anyway, we got to get out of here.
Yeah. If you're watching the stream and you enjoy it, please follow. That's very helpful. Subscribe to the podcast if you like listening to the audio version.
Love us.
Yeah, give us like 5 stars and reviews and all that shit. We really appreciate it. Much love, everybody. Goodbye.
Take me off the internet.